This is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to talk about the Model YL that's just debuted in China. They've done some reviews. I don't think they've delivered a vehicle yet, but it's coming. Yeah, no, I'm supposed to have really good Wi-Fi. I don't know what's wrong with it today. I'm doing this over my cell phone hotspot because my house Wi-Fi is crappy today for some reason. So Elon responded to a post by someone about this Model YL that's appearing in China, that this variant of the Model Y doesn't start production in the United States until the end of next year, end of 2026. Might not ever, given the advent of self-driving in America. I thought this was a very dramatic. I have a lot more to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about the Wall Street Journal, talking about Elon's politics. We're going to talk about Tesla Semi. We're going to talk about full self-driving in Japan and version 14, FSD in Thailand, so much more. Yeah, no, this is a good argument for Starlink right now, I'll tell you that. And Elon's compensation plan. We're going to talk about all of that, but I want to start by talking about the Model YL. So, and just a quick reminder, I predicted something like the Model YL a while back, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I predicted that Tesla would make a longer Model Y, and this is about 6 or 7 inches longer than the Model. I think it's 6 inches longer than the Model Y. And it has a more legit third row. It has captain chairs in the second row. I believe this vehicle is really designed for the Chinese market, that if you made this for the US market, the US market might want a 3-seat second row, and that wouldn't work as well with this rear seat configuration. Could we believe Elon? He's always super bold, but he's often wrong. I think the practical reality is that I think people are overestimating how this would sell in the US. If you look at what they're adding to this in China, I mean, the price isn't too crazy in China, but these features that they're adding would probably add up to a bit more price. And, Tesla's biggest issue in the United States and generally is price. And if cars are too expensive, then people won't buy them. I don't think this is the traditional 3-row SUV that Americans want. I'm not sure. I don't think this is going to sell particularly well in Europe. I think this is going to sell really well in China. It will sell well here in Thailand. I think Southeast Asia generally, there's a demand for this type of vehicle. The Chinese are making 3-row vehicles that are really designed. I'm not sure what they're doing with this one yet. I haven't seen a full review yet. The Chinese EVs that are 3-row are designed, that are expensive, are designed where the second row is the luxury seats. I think this car, the front row, is the luxury seats, and I'm not sure if the second row has the same level of luxury. The reason why the second row has luxury seats is because wealthy people in China and Thailand don't drive themselves. They have a driver. So the driver doesn't need a fancy seat because he's getting paid $10 a day, $20 a day. He's working class, and he doesn't need to have nice seats. The second row seats in a lot of Chinese EVs are like massaging and all that. So says this news on Model YL is extremely bullish. I think it is. I think this is what Elon says here is very bullish. And I want to stress this. What he says, first of all, they're not planning on making this variant of Model Y. That doesn't mean they're not planning on making other variants of Model Y in the US. I think we're going to hear about that very soon, like October, early October. They basically told us there will be new models coming in Q4 in the US, and they're holding that till Q4 because the tax credit's expiring and they don't want to slow production while demand is really high. And their demand is off the charts right now for Model Y. The price is going up. The price of lease is going up. A lot of things are getting more expensive right now for Tesla. There's a surge in demand because people want to lock in that tax credit before it's gone. So says, I think that Tesla will absolutely use this for a robotaxi in the USA. No, we're going to talk about that. I don't think so. Will they make the performance? I think there's going to be a performance Model Y. I think people have seen a performance Model Y testing at Nürburgring. I think there's a performance Model Y coming for sure. I don't know why there wouldn't be. But I think this statement here might not ever, given the advent of self-driving in America. Now, there's a reality about this that a lot of Tesla fans don't like to hear. Once the robotaxi network is starting to scale, the demand for robotaxi vehicles within the Tesla fleet are going to be so large that every Tesla made in the United, and we're expecting this to be in the United States primarily, not anywhere else at first. It will spread to other countries. I think China might be next, but the demand for, if Elon is projecting that roughly half the United States will have access to the robotaxi network by the end of the year, but probably, sometime first, second quarter of next year, right? Once that happens, the demand for robotaxi vehicles for Tesla's fleet is going to be off the charts. And really, it's going to be a Cybercab that's going to fill that demand, but Cybercab isn't ready for full production yet, and Model Y is. So my opinion is that every Model Y that is manufactured in the United States will go into the robotaxi fleet. Every Model 3 that is manufactured in the United States will go into the robotaxi fleet. Maybe every Model X, because if you need a larger vehicle to seat 6 people, you don't need a Model YL, you just use Model X, and the demand for that is very small. Mark, I'm going to come to Japan in a minute. Japan and other countries where FSD is being tested. So, but you don't use a 6-passenger vehicle as a main driver of your robotaxi fleet, because 80% of the rides are single passenger. 80% of Ubers, 80% of Lyfts, 80% of taxis. I'm in Asia, Grab. A large share of these taxi rides are one person. And then of the rest, almost all of them are 2-passenger. So when you get to where there's more than 2 passengers needed, it's very small. So Model Y is going to handle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passengers. So, the demand for 6-passenger Uber, Lyft, whatever rides is very small. It's very small. But you're going to be able to put 5 people in a Model Y. So the need for, and you can have a few Model X's around for when you need 6 or 7. So I just don't think it's an issue. Espen says it's probably coming to Europe. I think it would do well here, as Model Y is already the most sold EV, and this is a sweet spot that many Europeans are looking for. I don't know. I mean, you know Europe better than I do, but I think when you say the demand is there, here's the thing. I think that China might export this vehicle to Europe. That's possible. I don't think the demand in Europe is large enough for Giga Berlin to make it. That's an opinion. My read of European demand for Model Y is it's just not that large. That's why Berlin Gigafactory isn't producing in high volume. And I think the demand for this would be even lower than demand for regular Model Y. And China is like the most productive factory that Tesla has and produces at low cost. So why not just make as many as you can in China and export them as you need to? Pig KLB says, YL looks more like a Chinese-style chauffeured car and should do well in that market. The VW Eurovan filled a similar niche. Yeah. Okay. And I think Robo Cybervan, or not Cybervan, but they call it Robovan. I think Robovan is coming. So, hello everybody in the chat. Yes, thank you, Karsten. So I just wanted to cover that detail. Elon said this was a little bit of a surprise. I did think they might make this vehicle in the US. I'm not sure that the US market, when we think about 6-passenger SUVs, 7-passenger SUVs, we're thinking Tahoe. We tend to like larger vehicles, and this just isn't that big. It's got a lot of cargo room. It'll seat 6 people reasonably comfortably, from what I understand, at least in the third row, at least for Chinese people who are probably a little smaller than the average American. The third row is not terrible. It's much better than the previous Model Y, and it's probably comparable to the Model X. The Model X third row isn't that bad, but I just don't think it's that great. And, because of the way they have it set up with the captain's chairs in the second row, it's easier to access the third row, and it's easier to stretch your legs out in the third row because you can put them in the middle. So, overall, I think this looks like a great vehicle. I think Tesla's done a great job with it, and I think they'll sell a lot of them in Asia. Whether they'll sell some in Europe, I don't know. Lucid, good. Lucid isn't even that good. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to finish. It's not going to finish the X, because the primary demand for the X is in the United States. They don't sell that many X's overseas. I think they mostly stopped shipping them overseas. So this is another topic. I didn't do any slides on this or any images on this, but there's a question, when does Tesla ditch Model S and Model X? And the sense I have is that although they're not high volume, Tesla doesn't really want to shut down the lines and put something else in their place. If Tesla's going to produce another vehicle, they'll produce it in Texas, or they'll produce it somewhere else. And the equipment is mostly amortized, so the margin on Model S and X are fairly high, and even though they're low volume, the profit might be 30-40% per vehicle. The gross margins might be much higher, so still may be a fairly significant amount of profit and cash flow for a Tesla, even though it's not moving the needle, but it might just sort of be a buffer that has some value to Tesla. I don't fully, and also, you have the 1865 cells. Like, no other vehicle uses the 1865 cells. So what do you do with the 1865 cells? You might as well put them in Model S and Model X. I think there's sort of although there doesn't seem to be a lot of reason to keep S and X going, there isn't a lot of reason to end them either. And it's an aspirational vehicle. Like, I think Model X is still my favorite Tesla, and Model S, if you want a fast car, Model S Plaid, and Model X Plaid is like a rocket. So if you wanted like a high-end sports car, Model S and Model X are pretty hot. So yeah, I think we're going to see a more affordable model. I think we're going to see something else with Model Y, and we don't know what. Maybe there'll be a larger Model Y. Maybe they're going to make one even bigger than this for the US. We don't know. He didn't say, it's kind of interesting. He didn't say they won't make a larger one. But I think the big issue is just, given the advent of self-driving in America, like, I don't know that Tesla's going to sell cars to customers once the robotaxi network starts scaling, because they're going to need 10 million vehicles in the United States, and they only produce 2 million a year. So, the at least 10 million. They may need 20 million in the US. So it's going to take a long time to manufacture enough vehicles to fill out what the robotaxi network needs in the United States. So every vehicle, and they make 2 million worldwide. What do they make in the US? 1 million? Less than 1 million a year? So they're probably capable of making more than 1 million a year in the US, but it's not that much. So is the 4680 over? No, the 4680 is not over. The 4680 will be going into semi. The 4680 is probably the lowest cost nickel-based lithium-ion cell available for production in America, and I think Tesla will incorporate 4680 more in the near future, especially when they start building out the semi factory. I think they're planning on, I don't know if it's the semi factory or expanding Giga Nevada, the existing Giga Nevada, but they're planning on making a large volume of 4680s there, probably for semi. We're going to talk about semi later in this video. I don't think this hurts Model Y demand in the US. If you want a 6-passenger vehicle, Model Y is not going to satisfy you. And if you don't want a 6-passenger vehicle, you wouldn't want to pay $5,000 more for this. Or, I don't know, maybe $10,000. That's the other question. How much is this going to cost? With high interest rates in the United States, how many people will buy it? Unless interest rates come down, the demand for a vehicle like this isn't that high. So, all right, let me move on here. So there was something from Tesla AI about, I forget what the post, they did a post about FSD, and I complained, as I do, I've done more than once, that there's no FSD in Thailand. There's also no Starlink in Thailand. Get over here ASAP. And I said, could you at least give us the green light chime for now? So for those who aren't familiar with Teslas, when you're stopped at a red light, when the light turned green and you're, I think, in the front or the second position, the car will make a ding to let you know the light is green. So you're not the idiot who's sitting still at the traffic light, right? For some reason, that doesn't work in Thailand. It's really annoying to me. And Elon says waiting on regulatory approval. Is like, well, wait, does he mean they're waiting on regulatory approval for FSD? Or does he mean they're waiting on regulatory approval for the green light chime? But this apparently went viral in Thailand news. I have friends who are Thai FSD Tesla fans, Tesla investors. They're Thais, right? And they're like, oh, this went nuts. This got like a lot of traction. It got a lot of reports in the news. So I'm now almost famous in Thailand, which I find hilarious. Are they testing? We'll get to that question in a minute. Where are they testing? Maybe let me move this. Okay, so just following up on that, Tesla posted that they're testing FSD supervised in Yokohama City, south of Tokyo. Yokohama is one of the largest cities in Japan. It's Tokyo, Osaka, and I think Yokohama is number 3. So they posted a video, I don't know, ballpark 3-minute long video of testing FSD in Japan. Japan drives on the left-hand side of the road. The steering wheel's on the right side, as you can see in this picture here. Unlike America and most of the countries like China where Tesla operates, the steering wheel's on the other side. So I think they've already shown it in the UK, which is similar, and Thailand, where I am, similar. So it's nice to see that they're making progress with that. And then Sawyer had a list, and so I disagree with, I think it was Mark said they're testing FSD in Thailand. Sawyer had a list that we've now seen Tesla's FSD supervised successfully tested in Italy, Netherlands, Japan, Spain, UK, France, Australia, Canada, US, China, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. We haven't seen it in Thailand yet. And I can tell you autopilot is not that exciting in Thailand. I didn't pay for FSD because it doesn't work. I didn't get enhanced autopilot. Maybe I should have. Um, but we'll see. I'm thinking about whether I'm going to pull the trigger and make that happen. So we've that, and then Elon talked about V14. So this analyst was talking about his experience with Robotaxi, I think in Austin, and he was very impressed. He felt it was much better than Waymo. Waymo felt robotic. Robotaxi felt like it was being driven by a human. Elon says version 14 of Tesla self-driving feels sentient, which means like conscious, like it's a real person. That this guy was just on version 13. Version 14 is the second biggest update to Tesla AI Autopilot ever after V12. It feels alive. You know, it's easy to say it, and we don't know when V14 is coming. It sounds like it's coming sooner rather than later. So that's going to be a big deal. Let's just see. I'm just checking the chat. Nevada building LFP factory with prismatic cells. Yes, there is an LFP factory going in Nevada. That's true. Isn't Tesla making their own 4680s? Yes, they are making their own 4680s. And we expect that they'll grow that. I think that just, Cybertruck doesn't need them, isn't selling in high volume, so they don't need them for that. Semi isn't ready for high volume. So I think once Semi is ready to go high volume, which is probably early next year is when they start manufacturing in some volume, I think they're going to go with 4680 for Semi. We don't know, but I think so. Manufacturing cars is not an issue. I just think about having 1 million robotaxis on the street. How could AI handle all these cars simultaneously? Okay, so CM asks a question that doesn't really make sense. AI isn't driving all the cars. There isn't one AI driving all the cars. Every car has AI in the car. Here's Optimus is right here. Okay, Optimus is going to have AI, or Optimus already does have AI hardware in it. I think it has the AI 4 hardware. The Robotaxi is the AI 4 hardware. If there's no internet connection at all, the car will continue to drive. The car goes on what it sees, whatever map data it has already, and whatever route plan it has, and it goes where it wants to go, and it does not need an internet connection. There's no external AI controlling the car. You need the car's AI to control itself, because if you had to wait for signals from the internet, the latency, the amount of time it would take from what you see to when you get the response, you'd have to send the images to some computer somewhere else, and then the computer would have to send control instructions back. It would take too long. You have to have the AI in the car, operating the car within the car. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to respond quickly to emergency situations or anything, really. It wouldn't feel right. So right now, each new car has AI4 neural net computers, two chips. AI5 is coming probably next year, and then AI6 will be another year or two after that. Cyber Serenity says CATL new Nextra sodium batteries claim is 90% less cost than lithium base. Would like to hear your take on it. I believe sodium batteries are making progress. I don't know how advanced they are. And a lot of times you'll see stories about some new battery and it ends up being very low volume and they're not scaling the volume yet. Sodium batteries are going to be used in energy storage. They will not be used in cars. The energy density is just far too poor for cars. Lithium iron phosphate is barely good enough for cars. I mean, it's good enough, but it's sort of like on the edge. Nickel chemistries are much better. You can't really do lithium iron phosphate in a performance car. You can, but it's not the same. The Chinese are getting better at lithium iron phosphate, but sodium, as far as I know, is not close to competitive in vehicles, but could potentially be very competitive in energy storage. And I think the thing we don't know yet about sodium batteries is what's their cycle life, right? So a lithium iron phosphate battery in energy storage might last 10,000 cycles, which could be like 25 years. And I don't know if sodium has that cycle life. So if they don't have the cycle life dialed in yet, it might cost less up front, but it might not amortize well over 20, 25 years. How much energy is required to run FSD in a car? It's very low. It's very low. The chip runs 100 watts or something like that. I think the current hardware runs like 100 watts. 100 watts means in an hour you burn 1/10 of a kilowatt hour, right? A kilowatt, 1,000 watts would be a kilowatt hour in an hour. 100 watts in an hour is nothing. That's pretty trivial. FSD doesn't even need a map. That's right. It doesn't need a map. But, if you have instructions about where it's supposed to go, it probably needs a map for that. AI4 200. I'm not sure AI4 is 250 watts. 250 watts might be the maximum, but it might not run constant 250 watts. I think that Tesla produces 4680 batteries in Fremont for the Fremont factory that makes 4680s is making like the next generation of 4680 as a test. I don't think it's making them in volume. 4680s are made in volume in Giga Texas and Austin, and they will be made in volume in Giga Nevada or the semi factory. The batteries will last longer than most cars. The lithium iron phosphate batteries will last longer than most cars. I'm not sure where the nickel-based batteries are. They're getting better. I don't know if they're lasting longer than cars yet. Depends on how long the car lasts, right? If the car only lasts 100,000 miles, yeah, the nickel-based battery will outlast it. But if you're going to go 300,000 miles, no. And the nice thing about EVs is they also last longer. Not just the batteries, but the car itself lasts longer. Yeah, okay. So let me move on. So just the key point here is that it looks like Tesla FSD version 14 is coming. It will be a big deal. I think the challenge is, can they get hardware for AI4 working with this version 14 and deliver robotaxi rides where they can take the safety driver out in California, they can take the safety rider out in Austin, Texas. Once they take the humans out of the cars and maybe they need less teleoperator support, you might see the robotaxi network grow really fast. I think those are the holdups, and as they improve performance, as in the car feels more natural, the car is, less need for interventions or less problems, it's going to be a big deal. So, once it may be that version 14 is the thing that breaks the dam. And I think we're going to know that in a few months, if not sooner. So Mark says, Grok says Hardware 5 takes too much power for Hardware 3 cars. I don't think that's the issue. I think they could make a version of the AI5 chip. So they're currently, like my Model 3 and Model X in the US use Hardware 3. My new Model Y and, most new cars made by Tesla use Hardware 4, AI4. AI5 hardware is coming next year. Most likely, if Tesla wants to put AI5 in a Model 3, they'll just make a version that only uses 100 watts. They'll figure out how to make it so that it can be, if that's what they decide to do, they will make a version of the hardware that will, one way or another. I think Elon has said that they'll be able to dial up AI5 to use 700 watts, but it'll be able to run on as little as 100 watts. Mark says Tesla now has permission to operate robotaxi in Austin without safety monitor, good until 2026. I haven't heard that, but I don't know that I don't think the government ever required Tesla to have a safety monitor. I think Tesla decided to have a safety monitor for their reasons. They want somebody in there because they're monitoring the car. I don't know that that's a state regulation or it's just the way it is. Okay, so just a quick point about Tesla Semi. This is Brian Wong from Next Big Future. He's talking about Semi, and he's going into details on the profitability. And I would encourage you to look him up, Next Big Future on X, and maybe he did a video on YouTube as well. He said the share price for Tesla could balloon just with 10,000 robo-trucks and trucking semis, adding $6 billion a year in profit at 40 price earnings ratio would be $240 to the share price. 100,000 trucks would add $2,500 to the share price. Now, I love Brian. I think this is optimistic in the short term because I don't think Tesla plans to operate Semi as a robo Semi for at least a couple years. Right, so they're going to start manufacturing them at scale and operating them at scale in 2026, and I think they'll be running the factory full bore by the end of 2026 into 2027. I think they need to get a lot of vehicles on the road, get a lot of data before they're able to actually implement FSD in any meaningful way in these big trucks. And so I think we're probably not looking at this until 2028 at the earliest that we'll see robo semis. And when we do see robo semis, then yes, this will be a big boost to the stock price. And it's something that should be recognized by investors and say, this is going to add $2,500 to the share price in 2029. Well, back that up to 2025. How much would you pay for a stock that's going to go from $300 a share to $2,800 a share? You'd be paying a lot more than $300 a share for that. This is the same thing with robotaxi and everything else. Oh, just a quick disclosure, by the way, I did sell 50 shares. I have some bills to pay, and I decided to sell some Tesla stock this morning. And apparently I did it at the right time because I sold at $330 a share right after the market opened. Matthias asks, how big is the 7-seater market in Europe compared to the potentially cheaper Model Y? I do think the 7-seater will sell well, but the market will be saturated soon. First of all, I don't know that there's a 7-seater to talk about. I think that the smaller Model Y will sell. I think we're going to see a Model Y S, and let's just bring that back up here. We're going to see a model. This is the Model Y L. It's a slightly longer version of Model Y. I think, given the way they did the name, it seems likely we're going to see a Model Y S. The Model Y S will be, I don't know, 4 inches shorter, 6 inches shorter, a little bit shorter in height than the current model, than the regular Model Y. Probably not narrower because this isn't wider. And, you'll go from 2,100 cubic feet of cargo, 2,100 cubic liters of cargo space to 1,500 cubic liters of cargo space, still be bigger than a BYD Atto 3. This is my prediction. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, please follow me on X, WR4N. Check Mark in the chat, or just search for Warren Redlick on X and look for the guy who's verified, because I'm sure there's a bunch of fakes. Something I wanted to talk about is we have the shareholder meeting coming up, and this is something I posted on X that a lot of people agreed with. I don't know how many people responded to this, but I thought this was one of my better posts, and it didn't. I don't think it got as much attention as it should have. Right. Whoops. What did I do? No, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So, Elon's next Tesla package, next comp package. I think this is something that is likely to happen, or something close to this is likely to happen. For every $2 trillion in market cap that Tesla hits over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years, I don't know what number of years they'll give it, Elon gets 1% of the company's stock. Right? So he currently has 13%. He has some options that will get him up to like 18% after he pays taxes on what he sells. I think that might be with the package that's in dispute. They just gave him, I don't know, 96 million shares or something like that to offset what's going on in Delaware. We're waiting to hear from the Delaware Supreme Court on this. Mark Plot says Model YL under wraps in Giga Berlin. Mark, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that people have seen Model YL in Berlin? I haven't seen that. So my theory is that Tesla will come up with a compensation package similar to the previous one, with what I call tranches. They're like a set of goals. It won't just be market cap. There will be other goals, but for every $2 trillion in market cap that Tesla reaches up to 20 trillion, Elon gets 1% additional stock in the company, right? So right now we're at about $1 trillion. So if the stock hits $2 trillion market cap, if the Tesla hits a $2 trillion market cap, Elon gets 1%, right? I think that's like 30 million shares, but don't hold me to that. $4 trillion, he gets another 1%, $6 trillion. You go up to 20 trillion, maybe you go to 22 trillion, so you can get up to 11%, but up to a 10% additional stake. Maybe you go to 24 trillion. Maybe they make bigger steps after 20 trillion and it's 25 and 30. I don't know. But this, if Elon got the full 10% and he pays taxes and he ends up keeping 6%, because now he's not paying California state income tax, right? He's paying U.S. federal income tax. Maybe he's even able to keep a little more than 6%. That would probably put him close to the 25% he said he wanted. And that would give him the control he wants in a company that's developing real-world AI that could be very, very significant for the world. As far as we know, Giga Berlin is only making Model Y, William. My prediction is that they will make Model Y S in Berlin. They will make Model Y S in Texas. And they will make Model Y S in China. We'll see. I mean, maybe China will be so overwhelmed with Model YL that they won't have room to make Model YS, and they'll make Model YS in Berlin and export those somewhere else. Um, so and I should say that the 10% additional stake is before taxes. So how much does he keep after taxes? Mark says make it 3%. We don't need to make it 3%. I think this is a reasonable approach that would make sense. Okay, so then separate topic here. I want to do this first. There was this story in the Wall Street Journal that Elon Musk had pledged to start a political party, and he's already pumping the brakes. Mayor Thacker says this is why no one takes Elon seriously on many things he says. And I ripped into Mayor as I usually do. First of all, who takes the Wall Street Journal seriously? And of course, Elon said nothing Wall Street Journal says should ever be thought of as true. So Elon is basically saying it's not true. That doesn't mean he's not saying what he's doing, but I'm sure he looked at the article and said none of that is true. Whatever they wrote, I haven't read it, but apparently they're claiming that Elon's backing off the third party, and Elon said nothing they say is true. That doesn't mean it is. This particular thing is false, but it sounds like a denial. So I just wanted to fight back against Mayer. He says, as for Elon, no one takes Elon seriously on many things he says. He has a lot of ideas. He's had this idea for a vertical takeoff and landing jet for like more than a decade, I think. It was in the Iron Man 2 movie. He had a cameo and he talked to Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Tony Stark about it like 10 years ago. And he talked about it in the Third Row Tesla podcast. They asked him about it. And he basically said Tesla doesn't have the engineering resources to do that. And there's too many hassles to do it. But he has a lot of ideas. He drops most ideas quickly. Because you can have a lot of ideas, but it's got to be something that's got legs. It's got to be something you can make it work. He pursues others. Some of his ideas become great successes, and large failures are rare. So people are like, oh, Cybertruck's a huge failure. Is it? It's not a raving success. I think we can agree that Cybertruck so far is not a raving success, but it is an amazing vehicle. It's just not selling that well because they weren't able to get the price point low enough and interest rates are too high. But it's a pretty cool vehicle. You got to admit, it's like, the four-wheel steering, there's so many, the acceleration, the handling, the functionality, the off-road capabilities, a lot of great things about Cybertruck. It's just, it's too expensive for lots of people to buy it, and the interest rates are too high for people to be able to afford it. So, and the plain and simple truth is that Elon changes course when reality dictates. And most of us Tesla fans and SpaceX fans, we prefer Elon's approach of, hey, I think we're going to skip carbon fiber. We're going to go to stainless steel. We prefer the guys who are willing to come out with big ideas, chase them, dump things like Dojo when you need to, right? Rip off the Band-Aid quickly when there's a problem and redirect yourself towards the things that are working. And far too few people are capable of doing it the way Elon does it. And Elon does it better than just about anybody else. So, it's guys like Mayer, and I like Mayer in some circumstances, but like you're sitting in the cheap seats. Everybody who criticizes Elon, like, fucking start a company and show us. You're so fucking smart. Start a company and show us your how smart you are. What's the guy's name? Thunderclod, Thunderpussy, Thunderfoot. He's been shitting on Elon for, 10 plus years. Has he ever built a company? None of these retards have ever built a company. Build a company and then you can talk, right? Let me know when you have a $1 billion company. Elon has like 6 or 7 of them. When you built it, because counting PayPal and who knows what was the other one? I don't think Zip2 ever reached $1 billion, but let me know when you've done something big, and then we can talk. But all these guys who are sitting in cheap seats who've never built anything, crap talking Elon like you know what you're talking about. It's just so annoying. The guy's done amazing things. 10 years ago, we're almost to the 10th anniversary of SpaceX landing its first orbital rocket booster. No one else has even tried. It's 10 fucking years. No one else has even tried. Like, how much money does China have? China has a spaceport. How much money do they have? How many engineers do they have access to? They still haven't even tried to land an orbital rocket booster. Jeff Bezos had as much money as Elon when he started, more money than Elon when he started Blue Origin. They launched, but they didn't try to land. Right? They gave up on the attempt to land. Is anybody going to attempt to land an orbital rocket booster before the 10th anniversary of Orbcomm 2? December 21, 2015. We're coming up. It's 4 months away. Is anybody going to even attempt a landing? What's his name? Rocket Lab tried to catch one with a helicopter. Fred Lambert had something monstrously stupid. I forget what he wrote. He wrote something monstrously stupid today. I don't even remember what it was. The guy's a retard. I think I was in it. I think it was me and Alexandra Merce, and did he call her? Like, somebody called Alexandra like some sort of like Nazi name or something. It's ridiculous. And the criticism was that the Democratic Party is a machine. And Fred was like, we're all conspiracy theorists or something. It's like QAnon, I think he called us. Like, does anybody not think that the Democratic Party is like a machine? They haven't had a genuine open primary since 2008. They haven't a genuine open presidential primary since 2008. And every Democratic member of Congress, with almost no exceptions, they talk off a script. They're finding a Democratic, except for the extreme leftists, right? Everybody else is talking off a script. And he was picking on Mark Kelly, I think, Senator Mark Kelly at one point. And that was the response. So, okay. So I just wanted to hit that point because Mayor constantly annoys me with this stuff. I do think the guy's pretty bright and he has some good moments, but I don't know why he has to keep crapping on Elon. Like, talk more about the positive. This is like trivial. This isn't even important. Like, if you're an investor, do you care whether Elon starts a third party or not? I'm an American. I want him to start a third party because I think he legitimately has a chance to influence American government by having third party candidates contest close races and potentially win seats in 3 or 4 House districts and 3 or 4 Senate seats, and then maybe be the swing vote in the House and Senate and actually influence government policy to reduce spending and stop crapping on solar and batteries and, make better policy for the future of America. Right? That would be good. Right? It's not bad. Now, maybe he can't make it work. Maybe he can make it work. I don't know. The idea that he's going to, hope that J.D. Vance ends up being a better president than Trump in 3+ years. You really think J.D. Vance as president is going to cut spending? Really? I don't think so. I wouldn't count on that. I think Elon doing what he's talking about could have a significant influence and scare both Republicans and Democrats. The idea isn't to take Republican seats. The idea is to take half Republican and half Democrat seats. Because if you only take Republican seats and the Democrats get a majority, you haven't done anything useful. You may have done something worse. But if you take 3 Democrat seats and 3 Republican seats, and now you have a majority in that, a tiny party in the House, but neither Republicans nor Democrats have a majority, and you do the same in the Senate, now you're this potentially swing vote. I don't think it works in the long run because I think the Democrats and Republicans would rather work with each other and increase spending than work with the party that wants to cut spending. I think in the end it will blow up and it won't work as well as Elon hopes, but I think it's a better shot than anything else. Ms. Magazine was once a monthly periodical. That's funny right there. Okay, so now a little bit of edginess from Elon. Ani, the what do you call it? The companion. There's 3 or 4 companions on Grok that you can have like video voice conversations with. Ani is the sexy female one. And somebody posted a demo of Ani in some like really scanty costume. Ani has new outfits and Elon said fire or whatever. I don't know if this is real or not. And I will say I did try to find it, and for some reason companions are disabled on my iPhone in Thailand. I don't know if it's because I'm on Thailand or something else. I did have access to Ani before, and I had access to Bad Rudy before. Right now I only have access to Good Rudy. I'm not happy about that, but I definitely wanted to play with this. And I have a theory that if XAI or X identifies which outfits are the most popular for Ani, especially. Thank you, James Knapp, for joining as a member. If they check my if you're curious, James, I believe you can see a video of my of my new house, the house that we're living in. If you are a member, I have a video up of the house that I'm in right now. Um, it's a like for people who are members on YouTube, for people who are subscribers on X, for people who are supporters on the Daily Lie or on Patreon. I don't give a lot of content, but I did recently create a video so you could see my new house in Thailand. And I probably will be doing a video soon about our new shop house, where we're going to have a cafe and co-working space, and my mother-in-law will have a dress shop. This is all my wife's thing, but I don't work. I'm just a retiree. I'll just be hanging out in the co-working space, but I love co-working spaces. So anyway, so that'll probably be coming for supporters. So please consider supporting me here on YouTube as a channel member, on X as a subscriber, on the Daily Lie, or on Patreon. I prefer X of all of them, WR4NYGov. I prefer subscribers there, but wherever, appreciate it. So will this affect fertility rates? I don't know, but I think if they sold the most popular outfits, I'd buy some. I think sexy outfits. I think men would buy them for their wives and their girlfriends, and maybe women would buy them to show off to their men. I don't know. I think that might sell. And a last point I want to make: I keep seeing people saying, "Oh, Tesla's been flat for 5 years. Tesla's been going sideways for 5 years." No, Tesla's up 141% over the last 5 years. This is as of early, just before this market opened. The stock was trading at $137 a share 5 years ago. So you can say at any given moment, oh, the stock is down below its all-time high. Most stocks are below their all-time high. It's not really saying a whole lot. Yes, the stock has been up and down. Yeah, we would like it to be up more. But I keep seeing people saying the stock's traded sideways for 5 years. No. And I think 4 years also, the stock is up like 50% on 4 years ago. You can cherry pick, and you could pick this moment right here and say, wow, the stock is up a lot from, whatever that dip was, right? Stock was up, the stock was down. But, when you see somebody say, oh, I keep seeing people saying it, like the stock's been sideways for 5 years. It was $137 a share 5 years ago. What are you smoking? You're just so angry that your stock isn't up where you want it to be that you say blindly stupid things like this. Can the basic member access live streams ECT now? I don't know what you mean by live streams. My live streams are for everybody. I don't do I never had enough supporters on any of the platforms for it to make sense to do a supporter only live stream. So I have a certain number. It's just not large enough. Not enough people would watch. So I haven't done that. Mark Plot says work is inherently socialist. Okay. Well, retirement could be boring, but I'm having a lot of fun because I'm doing a lot of things. I'm helping my wife do things. We're working on having another set of kids. Helping out her family by, providing a nice living environment for her nieces in particular. Her mom, whatever. I'm learning Thai. If retirement is boring, spend a month in another country and work on learning the language. That won't be boring. Pick, Spanish is probably pretty easy, or French. Pick another country. Go to Colombia or even Puerto Rico. You don't even have to leave the country. Miami, Los Angeles. You can go. You can learn Spanish in America. I think if you go to Minnesota, you can learn some Islamic languages, maybe Arabic or Somalian or something. I'm a big fan of Thailand. Visit Thailand. Japan is a spectacular country. Spend a month in Japan. You get 90. If you're an American, you get 90 days visa free in Japan. Cost of living is very low. Quality of life is very high. Best Japanese food in the world. Cheaper than American Japanese food. I think there's a lot of opportunities like that. But yeah, I don't know what you mean to access live streams. The live streams are for everybody. Okay. So that's all I have for you. Let's see. I just moved back from 2.5 years in Canada. Canada doesn't count unless you're in Quebec and you learn French. Loved helping people in retail with better picture taking. Learning to play an instrument's a good hobby. Yeah, I think learning to play music. I was doing country line dancing I was going out country line dancing, I don't know, 3-4 nights a week. I was trying to meet women. That didn't work, but I had fun dancing. I made friends. That was worth doing. I think there's a lot you can do in retirement, and I think if you're and if you want to work, then start a company up or find somebody who needs, find a business that you think is doing really good stuff and say, "Hey, can I help out?" Figure out how you can help out. Maybe you can get a job for 20 hours a week or something like that. They don't have to pay you benefits. They'll be thrilled that you're available. I play with my Wong computer. Very nice, Mark. Not safe for work. That's all right. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I think it's a good time to wrap up. I will definitely do a live stream on. I think I'm definitely doing a live stream on Sunday, my regular Sunday morning for you, evening for me live stream. I don't think I'm going to be doing another one unless something comes up. My volume's down a little bit. Hopefully, it'll pick back up. And having a lot of fun. Life is great here. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you all can become Teslaionaires soon. The shirt's fading. Don't you think it's fading a little bit? I don't think I can make another one. I got to find a t-shirt maker in Thailand. Cold Fusion just put out a video about Japan's population decline. It mentions Grok Ani crashing servers the morning she became available there. I don't think that's causing Japan's population decline. I think they got a lot of problems going on there. I believe population decline is caused by delayed mating. You should tell your children that they should be looking for a mate starting at 18. Don't tell them, go to college, get your degree, get your master's degree, get your career in order, and then you can worry about getting married. No, you should worry about finding a partner and having, and then with the idea of having children starting at 18. And I told both my daughters that. I'm not saying they're listening, but not enough people are telling their kids that. Don't wait. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. I don't care. It's harder at 25 than it is at 18. It's harder at 30 than it is at 25. I think everybody knows it's harder at 30 than it is at 25. And the fantasy that it's easier for men when they get older, totally false. I got a friend who's 43. I think Limiting Factor posted about this today on X. Limiting Factor. He had to go to the Philippines to find a wife. Couldn't find one in the United States. Just, it was like dead. I don't know about Japanese wives, but, he went to the Philippines. I came to Thailand. But America's just brutal. Thank you, Karsten, for joining. I think you can get married while you're in college. But it's not that you get married; it's that you find the partner in university. You're in a 4-year program, and you meet somebody. Don't date. Don't just not date. Try to date actively to meet somebody at college because you both went to the same college. You probably have some stuff in common. That's a good way to meet somebody. You go to grad school, work on meeting somebody there. I met my first wife in law school. But I think it's important to start looking early and make it like a primary focus of your life. It should be a primary focus of your life. You shouldn't be waiting until you're 32. And you think, okay, now my career is set. I've got all my stuff in order and I'm making progress. And now you're 32 and you're looking. It gets hard. Is that a Hennessy bottle? No, that's a Bordeaux. This is a Bordeaux. And this is Japanese sake. I just decided to put something up interesting there. So, all right. Anyway, I need to wrap up. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Tune in Sunday morning and let's go Tesla. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.